Corrective measures are probably, to me, one of the important bits because it sort of shows that you're understanding. Over 30 years, I've been talking almost every day with people with addiction problems. It's kind of funny that every phone call, I've realised, contains pretty much the same content. And it goes like this. They may use different words and different, I call it the scenery, different reasons and issues, but it always boils down to the same content, and it's this. Hello? Oh, I've got consequences. And it's like, yeah, they're consequences to your actions. Oh, but I like the actions. It's like, yeah, I like the actions. I don't like the consequences. So I don't do the actions, I don't get the consequences. And they're like, oh, I need to find another sponsor. And because a lot of the time, and again, I think that they're being sort of also sold this to a degree in harm minimalisation, where it's like, take the drug without the consequences. And again, that's every addict's dream. That's why most of them die, trying to achieve that. So it's kind of like you want to have like smoky bacon because you love it, but it's kind of like it causes you to have heartburn, so you take Gaviscon, and then it's building up cholesterol in your body, so you take statins. It's like, if I can carry on the behaviour but get something to pain kill the consequences, then that's often preferable because it's easier than changing. You know, it's just easier than changing, and that's one of the struggles that. And again, in a way, that's kind of what drugs actually offer people. They kind of offer you a peanut without doing anything. You know, I think the same with antidepressants. I think a lot of people probably would do a hell of a lot better if they worked on their mental health rather than took them tablets. You know, they change your diet, start exercising, have cold baths. You know, there's a lot more that you can do, but people depend on medicine. When you talk to doctors about it, they just say, well, I've only got this amount of time, and most people really don't want to take that level of responsibility. So again, it's the same with the 12-step program. I mean, we always have this kind of, people go, oh, it don't work for everybody. It's like, yes, it does, but everybody don't want to do it. That's fine. But there's spiritual principles contained in the program. Of course, they work for everybody, but everybody don't want to do that. And again, I work with a lot of people and they don't want to change, especially when they're dysfunctional, because it's hard to change when you're dysfunctional. They'd rather learn how to live with a dysfunction. And that's kind of what your ego does. I'm screwed because I'm taking heroin. What's the quickest way for me to get relief from taking heroin? Take heroin. But it's just taking you to a worse place. But it is the quickest relief. But if you're going to stop taking heroin, there's going to be other things that you're going to have to do that are going to take more commitment and more effort. But if you don't want to do it, then it ain't going to work. So, you know, there's this thing about the program where it says having a spiritual awakening as the result of this program. And really, the spiritual awakening is that you become less conscious of yourself, that you become more conscious of other people. You know, some people call it even like a God conscious, but the overall outcome is you stop thinking about yourself so much, which is the root of all suffering. All human suffering comes from your thinking about yourself too much. Even if someone hits you on the foot with a hammer, that's extreme self. You're really feeling yourself. If somebody says a hard word that hurts you, it's still you're feeling yourself. If you let go of yourself, or don't see yourself in that way, you don't suffer so much. So the spiritual awakening, the spiritual awakening, is that when you work that program, it teaches you to stop making decisions based on self. You stop being so selfish, which everybody knows. All addicts are pretty selfish people. They don't stop talking about themselves. You're constantly trying to help them. They offer very little back to your life. Some do, but most don't. And so the recovery is kind of an altruistic program. It's saying, look, you'll feel better when you stop being selfish and sitting there drinking yourself to death. It's very selfish when you're in a family. especially if they don't want to sit there and drink themselves to death. You know, they want your attention, they want your love, they want you to be interested in football, they want you there for breakfast in the morning. You know, they want you to be there at dinner, they want to have a decent dinner at night, they want the bills paid. You know, they want you to not put pressure on their life and just take your contribution and throw it down the toilet. And so the spiritual awakening is you become free from self. You start considering other people more, which starts to bring you a great feeling of well-being. You know, people aren't designed to be selfish. It doesn't make you feel well-being. Doing the steps is taking a personal inventory. Is really having a good hard look at yourself. Is finding out what's the truth about you. What is the truth about you? Are you willing to accept the truth about you? Are you willing to look at the warts that you have? And then are you willing to get the right treatment that corresponds with that problem? Are you willing to take the right corrective measures? If you're full of resentment, the right corrective measure is you've got to learn to forgive. And if you don't forgive, you're going to stay sick. And so that's really the difficulty. And nobody likes doing that. Not whether they're alcoholic or addict. Most people don't like to look at themselves. If you don't accept the problem, you're never even going to bother with the solution. And if you don't accept yourself as you are, if you keep trying to convince yourself you're not an alcoholic, or you don't have an alcohol problem or a drug problem, or you know, you can play golf 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's not your problem your children are unhappy because they never see you and your wife don't know who you are anymore. It's not your problem. If you're not willing to admit you've got a problem, then you're never going to do anything to change it. That's kind of like physics 101, isn't it? If you're in denial, then you're not going to take corrective measures. And again, what I've learned is over the 3 decades of doing this is that most people by far would much rather live with their dysfunction than heal from it. That most people, even in the 12-step fellowship that are sober for multiple years, still have a lot of dysfunction going on because they've not done what we call the step 9. They've done a very superficial version of it, thinking that program is all about how not to drink. It's actually not. It's how do I improve my life? And the way you improve your life, the way you improve your relationship, the way you improve your business, is you take inventory. You have a good, honest look at it and don't kid yourself about the values. And then when you discover the problems, you learn how to solve them. And if you keep solving the problems, you can turn the biggest wreck into a Formula One. It's just a matter of consistency, discipline and time.